Central School, it's Mrs. Hewing here with another edition of Central School Book Talks. I'm so excited to talk to you today about 7 of the new Bluestem books that we're going to get in the library within the next few weeks. So let's get started on the books. First up, I have Between the Lines, How Ernie Barnes Went from the Football Field to the Art Gallery, written by Sandra Wallace. Now, this is a great biography about Ernie Barnes. When he was a young boy, he wanted to be an artist, and he loved to play in the mud and draw pictures with mud and sticks and just make beautiful designs in the dirt. Art was all he could ever think about. As he grew up, everyone thought he should become a football player. He really wanted to, and he got out of it for as long as he could until one day in high school, he came home to find his high school football coach sitting at his kitchen table talking to his mom. He knew the very next day he was going to be joining the high school football team. Ernie joined that football team, and he did a pretty good job, and he played pretty well. He went on to college and even played football in college, and as he got older, he tried out for the NFL and even played with the American Football League. But Ernie's number one passion was always art. Even when he was playing football, he was looking around him at the beauty and the pictures and thinking of the things he could create about football. Over time, Ernie figured out how to merge his two passions and to create art that had to do with football. Great story if you love art, drawing, painting, or if you're a football player. After that biography, we've got Grace Hopper, Queen of the Computer Code, written by Laurie, Wallmark. Now, this is an interesting biography about Grace Hopper. She was one of the very first computer coders. In a time where there were very few computer coders at all, she was only one of the very, very few females. She was amazing and figured out how to write language before anyone else did for computer codes. She's actually the reason why sometimes we say our computer has a bug. It's an interesting story that you need to find out about the very first computer bug. She was in the Navy until they told her she needed to retire, and at that point, they actually ended up asking her to come back, and they needed her help for another 30 years. Grace Hopper was an amazing computer coder, and if you are interested in computers at all, this is a great book. Next up, I have Dazzled Ships, World War I and the Art of Confusion, written by Barton. Now, this was something I had never ever heard of until I read this book, and it was really quite amazing. During World War I, the German soldiers on submarines or U-boats were sinking a lot of the Allied forces' naval ships and even their cargo ships for Great Britain and the United States. They came up with all kinds of plans as to what they could do to try to protect their ships in the harbor. They wanted to train SEALs to spot them and let the sailors know, and different things they could do that way. But one of the other things they decided to do was, what if they painted these ships amazing colors and they really dazzled these ships to kind of make them camouflaged, so when a periscope poked up out of the water, it had trouble telling where the ships really were. It's kind of an interesting book about how they used art to help win World War I. After that, I have Lesser Spotted Animals, The Coolest Creatures You've Never Heard of by Martin Brown. Now, this is a fabulous book filled with all kinds of animals you may have never heard of before, like a banded Lindsay or a yellow-footed rock wallaby. These are amazing animals that do interesting things. Now, the sad thing is, a lot of these animals are endangered of becoming extinct for many different reasons. Why don't you read about these animals before they're all gone? Up next is Not So Different, What You Really Want to Ask About Having a Disability by Burcaw. Now, this is a really interesting book that Burcaw is writing about himself, but he's writing it because he's saying, go ahead, ask me. These are the questions that people always want to ask Shane, but they're almost too embarrassed to ask him. Things like, what's wrong with you? And, well, this page you can see that his brother can help give him a wheelie. There's amazing things in this book where Shane's just telling you, honestly, he's not so different than you or me or anyone else. He's just a kid, just a boy who likes having fun and hanging out with his friends. When you see someone different, talk to them. After that is an amazing animal book called Beauty and the Beak, How Science, Technology, and a 3D Printed Beak Rescued a Bald Eagle by Deborah Lee Rose and Jane Veltkamp. Now this is an amazing story of Beauty the bald eagle who lived in Alaska. We're not exactly sure as to what or how, because it is illegal, but Beauty was shot and her top beak was shot off, leaving Beauty unable to eat, drink, and even preen and take care of her feathers. When Beauty was discovered, she was living in a garbage dump and she was about to die. People did everything they could to save Beauty and started feeding her by hand. She went to a raptor center where a specialist named Jane wanted to fix Beauty and save her more than anything else. Through Jane's hard work, an engineer named Nate Calvin and Nate's dentist Ryan, they figured out a plan to create a prosthetic or fake beak for Beauty that they could attach, and then Beauty would hopefully be able to preen and take care of herself. It's an amazing story of how science can help save animals. And the last book I have is Her Right Foot by Dave Eggers. Now, this is an interesting book all about the Statue of Liberty. It talks off and tells us a lot of the history behind the Statue of Liberty and how it was built by the French and who designed it. There's even an interesting story about how Thomas Jefferson really wanted to put a microphone in the statue, or not a microphone, but speakers in the Statue of Liberty, so that way the Statue of Liberty could talk, but he was outvoted. One of the interesting facts you're going to find out is if you look closely at her right foot on the Statue of Liberty, she's walking because she's walking out to greet all of the new immigrants that come to our country. Great nonfiction with lots of facts about the Statue of Liberty. If you ever get a chance to travel there or want to know more, check out this book. So those are 7 of our Bluestem books for this year. We'll talk about the others in some upcoming videos, but remember, if you want to vote for your favorite Bluestem book, you have to have read 4 books by March. So get to the library, check these books out, and start reading.